Our surface area review. Again, talking about life hacks, things. When you see this word here, prism, that gives you a little tip that if it is a prism, we're going to be using our surface area formula for 2, a big B plus capital P H. Go ahead and write that on the top because you're going to be using that every time for prisms. You can look at these shapes. Usually in the classroom, I'll have it drawn on the back. I'm going to do a couple of these together, one of each type. Notice the first 4, or 5 rather, are rectangular prisms. Or again, when we look at number 1, that's the one I'm going to work out together. What's the general shape pushed all the way through it? A rectangle. That's awesome. So on number 1 then, pick a rectangle. The good news, remember again, on a rectangular prism, you can't go wrong. Just pick a rectangle. For me, I'm going to look here at the bottom. Invite you to outline it, color it in, or highlight it, whatever you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. But notice again, there's a rectangle here on the bottom. Is there one just like it on the opposite end? Yes, there are. There are 2 of the same rectangles. That's why it is a prism. That's why we're going to use this surface area formula. Put the SA in front for surface area. There are 2 bases or main shapes. So we're going to use that formula. Remember again, when we're looking at that big B, it's not just base, it's area. Everybody say area. Did you say it? Say area. It's all about this base shape. It's all about that base. It's no trouble. Use the formula to find the area of it. The length and the width. Notice again you highlighted those. 12 times 6, that gets you 72. Show that work. So that's where we're going to have 2 of those rectangles, why that number 2 is there, times the area of the base, plus, now put down the letter P somewhere, and we got to use the perimeter of the base. So notice again the life hack, we use the numbers 12 and 6. That should be useful to us, because now again, we got to go around. So this side is 12, that side is 6. Don't stop. We got to get every highlighted edge. So that was 12, that is 6. Here in the back, that's 12. And this side is 6, so make sure you have 12 plus 6 plus 12 plus 6. Careful with the mental math or the calculator. That does get you 36. And then from there, that goes in for the perimeter of the base. And then not always true, but the life hack in this instance happens again. What's the other number we haven't used? What's the distance from this bottom rectangle to the top rectangle right here? What's the distance between the 2 bases or the main shape? 7. So remember, that's 2 times 72 plus 36 times 7. Type it into your calculator for one fatal swoop. You get 396 centimeters. And now because we're talking about area, it's going to be squared. Rectangular prisms. Can't go wrong. Number 7. Sometimes doesn't copy very well. But what's the general shape pushed all the way through it? If you didn't say triangle, again, notice if you said a rectangle, is there a rectangle here in the front and directly opposite in the back? Nope. So we're looking at this right here. So you say general shapes pushed through is a triangle. Is there a triangle on opposite sides, like one on top and one on bottom? Why, yes, there is. That means that this is also a prism. It's a triangular prism, but we still use that same formula. 2 big B plus capital PH. Again, it does have to be a big B and a capital P because it's all about the base, about the base. It's no trouble. So since we've got a triangle, we've got to find the area of the triangle. That's where this formula comes on in. Remember, in a triangle, the right angle is your friend. That box touches the 2 sides you need. It touches this side, which is 6. That side, which is 8, so you're going to use those 2 guys. Now, this is the only way to get the right answer. We can't use different numbers. We have to use 6 and 8. Take it 6 times 8, and then divide it by 2. Be very careful with that. Don't forget to do that. There were 2 triangles, thus your formula is 2 times the area of the base. It's no trouble. It's not stuck in your head. It will be soon because it's always stuck in mine. I'm doing these. Perimeter of the base of this main shape. So again, somewhere putting down the letter P. We know this side is 6 because we've used it. This side is 8. But don't forget, it's a triangle, so we need 3 sides. Don't go 6 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8. Follow around. We have 6. We've got 8. That side is 10. Add those up. Interestingly enough, you get 24 again. It happens sometimes, not always, but it's an easy number to get with a bunch of different numbers that can be added. What is the height of the prism? What is the distance from the triangle to the other triangle? What is the other number we haven't used yet? Carefully type all that on in. Again, 2 times 24 plus 24 times 15 to get the answer, 408 centimeters squared. All this needs to be shown on a quiz or a test. 2 points for formulas, 2 points for work, an answer, a label, all points, point for trying. Show me the work for the perimeter. Get it in your mind, that muscle memory, so that way if you look at a shape like number 10 and go, you let your hand just start taking over and start magically writing things. What's the general shape pushed through number 10? A circle, you say. Is there a circle on top and on bottom? Are there 2 circles opposite each other? Well, that makes it a prism. Technically, it is a cylinder, but a cylinder has 2 bases, 2 circles. So I use the formula 2b plus ph. It's the same thing. You can Google it, like I've said before, where we're going to find different answers and different ways to set this up. But when we're trying to memorize formulas and look at keeping things plain or simple, let's just use 1. Big B is not just base, it's area. Everybody say area. Did you say it? Say area. Find the area of the base. It's no trouble. The formula, which we know, is pi r squared from a previous chapter. So that's 3.14 times, again, the radius has to go from the middle to the edge, so that one does do that. So we're going to take it times 8 squared, which don't forget, that is 8 times 8. So when you type that on in, you get 296 hundredths, 200.96. If you're going to get confused with the times sign and decimals, feel free as always to make it an X plus. Now this is where some people differ. For me, I'm just going to go here and say, how do you find the perimeter of a circle? Oh yeah, the perimeter of a circle, we call that circumference. So then circumference equals pi d. 3.14 times, what's the total distance across? This radius is 8, this radius is also 8, so 8 plus 8, or 8 times 2 gives you 16. So that comes out to be 50 and 24 hundredths, 50.24. And what is the height of the cylinder? What is the distance from the circle on the top to the circle on the bottom? What's the other number we haven't used yet? 10. So now be very careful. 2 times 200.96 plus 50.24 times 10. Again, 2 times 296 hundredths plus 50 and 24 hundredths times 10 gets you this lovely answer. And then if we're following instructions, it did say round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So that's that guy. Again, out of force of habit, as a teacher, I just underline the tenths place, draw an arrow so I look back to the next number right after it, so I can see if this one's 5 or higher, or when it's not, the number I underline stays the same. Everything after it is gone. And then that gives us our label, inches squared. Prisms have 2 bases. That's why the formula's got a 2 in it, because there's the same shape on top and bottom or on opposite sides. They are parallel bases. On this worksheet, when you turn it over to the back, you can see we got some new shapes. Up here again, let's use our life hack. It says SA pyramids, or surface area of pyramids. So that's going to give you a clue that these are probably pyramids. That's going to give you a clue as well that we're going to use a different formula, because a pyramid no longer has 2 bases, it just has 1. It's the bottom shape. And then remember, since the sides are triangles, that's where the half comes in, and the triangles are along the edge of the base, or the perimeter. And then we need to know that lateral height, or that slant height of this side, or lateral triangle. That's why we use this formula. So when you're looking at it, sometimes they're nice, and they plug it right on in, and they tell it to you. So like this one, number 1, since it's a triangle, since it's a pyramid, it is a triangular pyramid, we're going to use the pyramid formula. Capital B plus half P L. Doesn't need to be capital B and a capital P. Notice down here, they already told you the area of the base. No extra work or formula needed for that one, so just plug it on in. plus half. Usually don't like fractions, so I switch it to that. Now again, perimeter, remember, up here in our instructions, this word regular was very important. That meant all sides and all the angles are the same. So for us, this side is 12, this side is 12. They don't tell us about the back, but because it's that word regular, that means that side's also 12. So because it's a triangle, there are 3 12s, so 12 times 3, or write it up this way, 12 plus 12 plus 12 to get you that 36. And then life hack of what number haven't we used? Yes. Or again, what is the lateral height? What's the distance from the tippy top down to the bottom along that edge or that side triangle? Type that into your calculator. Careful, 62.4 plus 0.5 times 36 times 17. If you need to switch those to x signs so you know that they're multiplying, do that very carefully in your calculator. 368 and 4/10 yards squared. But what if they don't give you the big B? Well, again, down here at number 4, in class I'd go over, I'd show you some examples and visuals, but here just going quickly with this. Are there two of the same shape directly opposite of each other? Nope, the triangles are not opposite. The rectangle on the bottom doesn't have one on the opposite end, so it's not a prism. There's just everything coming to one point and a shape on the bottom. That means it's a pyramid. So the surface area, SA of a pyramid, is area of the base plus half times the perimeter of the base times the slant height. So here we go. The base, if you want to highlight it, it's the bottom of that, in this case, square pyramid. But if not, that's fine. You don't need to highlight it. Just focus in on it. It's all about this base, because it's a square or a rectangle, sometimes referred to me as a squarish rectangle, because we just need to get that formula, length times width, get you 22 times 22. So you can grab a calculator and type that on in. That's going to go in for your area of the base. Don't forget as well to switch that right away down here to half, because you don't like that decimal. And then going back to that base, we're looking for the perimeter of that base. That's what the capital P stands for. So again, somewhere, putting down a P, and you know that all of these have the same distance. So whether you want to say it's 22 times 4, because there's 4 of them, or if you want to journey around, 22 plus 22 plus 22 plus 22, all of that is fine. Whoops, sorry. Up here, 22 times 22. The area of the base was 484. Forgot to write that on in. Write it over here. And then substitute it in. Plug it in for your capital B, the area of the base. And then from there, don't forget, mental math or a calculator. Do that very carefully for the area, the perimeter of the base, excuse me. And then our life hack again. What's the other number we haven't used? What's the lateral height? What's the height of this side triangle from the tippy top down to the bottom where that base is? You've got that. Typing that on in very carefully into your calculator. And again, surface area. Area is the amount of space on a two-dimensional object. So you see that we've got 1,056 feet squared. Every one of these problems, every time, needs to have formula, work, answer, label. Whether I'm still putting this A for area, or if I'm putting a capital B here, as per usual, for area of the base, whichever I'm doing, it doesn't matter. Make sure you've got this formula shown and all that work on each problem, not just once on the top of the page. You can't just write this formula once. Every problem. And then when we're looking for the capital B, the area of the base, that formula needs to be there.